Welcome in and welcome back, everybody, to Sports Profit TV. This is the MLS Live podcast. We are on week 10 now. And we've been red hot the last couple of weeks, so we're definitely looking to keep that going. Full disclosure before the show starts, just so y'all know, I'm under some crazy weather right now. I've got a lot of hail hitting my house, so hopefully that doesn't interrupt the broadcast, and hopefully you guys can't hear it. I think sound testing was good before we went live here, so it shouldn't be a problem. But just a heads up in case my power cuts and I've got to jump back on or something, Garrett might have to take the steering wheel for a little bit. But so I think we are profitable something like 5 out of the last 6 weeks, and another great week last week, 4-1 on the match predictions, 4-2 including the collab. So looking to keep that going, G.
Yeah, man, it's good. We save our favorite plays for this show, and I think that's showing itself by the winning percentage right now is just excellent.
Absolutely. And, also, I think if you look at our closing line value from the time that we put these plays out onto Saturday, I know we kind of harp on that, but it is a big deal. We're saving you guys cents on the dollar. And props to you guys that are tuning in early in the week. Because you're definitely saving some juice by the time we kick off on Saturdays. But let's get to it. Let's talk about BetUS real quick. Very solid sportsbook serving all 50 states. I am a member myself going on 2 years now. Very generous sign-up bonus that they're offering at the moment. I think if you deposit with crypto, it's 200% of whatever you deposit up to $3,750. So really good option. So if you're interested in betting some MLS or just looking at a new book, BetUS is a good option. The description, the link to that promo is in the description of this video. But let's get to it, G. We are looking at we have a little bit of player news this week to go over, some interesting nuggets. I want to start with Brenner from FC Cincinnati. He is on his move. He is on the way to Serie A in Italy. They sold him to Udinese. I don't know what was the figure there.
10 million up front plus add-ons plus a sell-on fee.
Yeah. So Cincinnati's going to take that all day, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good deal. It's the add-ons and the sell-on fee is always a big deal for MLS sides until that player proves themselves. And so no, to get 10 million up front plus I don't know what the total deal could be worth, right? But I know for sure sell-on fees are always a big thing for MLS sides because those players usually only get better. And then if they can tack on 15, 20%, whatever it is to the next sell, that's just that's like an investment coming to ripe. So
right.
No, it's good business for them. I am curious what this would have looked like with Forrest. They rejected that deal, and I think everyone knew they were kind of up against it here. Like, it's got to be a decent deal, but I don't think I think them rejecting the Forrest deal actually hurt them overall in selling. But Udi did think that he was going to get sold if they did not act quickly. So they went ahead and got this done just so they could go ahead and lock him up because they believed if they waited, they probably would lose out.
Yeah, it does seem like that was the case. And I don't want to talk too much about Udinese because this is not a Serie A show, obviously. But I think it's a good pairing. Automatically, you got the two Brazilian guys, Beto and now Brenner. I don't know if they have any former, playing experience with one another, but we've seen Brazilians play well together in the past, and I'm not a fan of the other striker that Udinese had, pairing with Beto, Isaac Success. So hopefully he can, head for the exit door and, both parties, this was mutually beneficial for sure. But moving right along, this one hits close to home for you, a guy that's been good to your organization, and he is on the way out, but it was probably about time for Charles to, find somewhere new to go.
Yeah, I won't take too much time on this, but CJ Sapong is heading to Toronto in a trade for McNaughton, a center back, and some cash. The big thing about this for me is Nashville definitely wanted center back depth. They like their two starting center backs, but they don't really have anything behind them. McNaughton adds a little depth, and they got cash. That's for a 34-year-old CJ Sapong who is toast, but actually does what Toronto's going to want him to do, which is hold up the play and play
Right.
some nice 1-2s with Insigne and Bernardeschi. That's all he's done in Nashville with Hanny is hold up play, feed Hanny for some goals, and he'll contribute every once in a while. But his game right now is all hold up play as a striker. That actually fits with what Toronto is trying to do there on the wings. So I think
Yep.
it's a good move for Toronto. I just can't believe that Nashville was able to get a player and cash for a 34-year-old over the hill striker. So good deal, I think, for both teams. I think Nashville wins the trade, though.
Yeah, and I know you say you didn't want to harp on this too much, but I asked you before the show, and I think people are probably interested. Nashville is not necessarily flushed with talent at the striker position. Here they are selling a guy that has started for them at the striker position multiple times this season. Do they have something in the works to bring maybe a bigger name striker in?
I mean, nothing till the summer, right? Because the window's closed. So it's going to be Bunbury running the top. You'll see Zubak, who just hasn't gotten much run at all, there being as like a depth reserve forward now instead of Sapong. I think this was just a good business deal. This feels like Toronto came to Nashville instead of Nashville shopping CJ. And Nashville was just able to turn it into a good business deal for a 34-year-old striker. They are thin at the striker position. This makes them thinner. They got Akiloba, their designated player in Liga MX right now,
Yep.
playing okay. I haven't checked on him in a minute, if I'm being honest, but I know
He's on a terrible team.
I know he got off to a really hot start.
Yeah.
So I know they want him sold. They got to free up that DP spot. I don't know how quickly you can turn that into a 9 over the summer, but that would be in a perfect world what they were trying to do. Unload Loba, bring in another designated player at the 9 spot, and go from there.
Right on. Yeah, definitely makes sense. Okay, two more pieces of news real quick that were notable. Vancouver went out and made a move they went out and made a move to move Dahomey, who was kind of a depth winger attacker piece for them over the last couple of years. I'm a pretty big fan of this guy. I mean, I'm not saying, as far as MLS goes, I think he's been a good part of that attack and has been a positive player. And so they were able to move him to DC United for cash.
Yeah, I think it was like 350,000 or something like that in general allocation money.
Good move for DC.
Yeah, Rooney wants to score goals. I think he needs more speed. They definitely need some wing depth. They've been running either a 4-4-2 or a 5-3-2. If they run a 5-3-2, Dahomey might drop back as a wing back or a depth piece. But DC doesn't run wingers up top, right? They're not running anyone beside the strikers outside of another forward. So I don't see Dahomey taking up a forward position like that. So this speaks more to me as an offensive minded player coming out of the back more or from farther back on the pitch. So I like Dahomey. He's got speed. He's not going to score you a lot of goals, but he can help unlock an offense. So it'd be interesting to see where he plays. Now, it's a good deal for DC. They sent, I think, like I said, $350,000 in GAM or whatever for him. Vancouver had to get him off the books. This dude's like salary is like $750,000 this season or something like that. So they're paying most of the salary in this trade. Like Vancouver pretty much ate some money here to get him off the books just because that contract was so big. And Rooney wants to score goals. So I'm interested to see how Rooney uses him.
Yeah, and DC United, we've touched on this a little bit. They are kind of a sneaky, decent attack this year. If you look at the analytics, these guys have, and I think will continue to score goals for us. This is just another move that's positive, in that direction of scoring goals. Last piece of player news. This is noteworthy for me. because Croatia is a league that I have followed closely for years. You sent me the player news today to kind of sift through, and this one jumped out at me. Houston Dynamo, obviously in need of help in the attack. They went out and signed Ibrahim Aliyu from Lokomotiva Zagreb in Croatia. Very familiar with this guy. This is a anytime Lokomotiva Zagreb plays in Croatia, I am checking their lineup to see if this guy is playing out on the wing. Every single time. He's actually played some 9 for this team. If there's injuries or rotational situations, he can do both. From what I've seen, look, I don't think like this isn't Cucho Hernandez that's going to be able to swoop in and fix Houston Dynamo's problems overnight. This guy is going to go in, provide speed, provide some finishing talent. He's a guy that I think will help them, but not necessarily fix the problem that Houston's having, but definitely an upgrade for Houston.
Yeah, I think this dude offers just an athletic forward for 2 other forwards in Bassi and Ferreira, who don't just have that breakaway speed, right? They're creative. They do a lot in the offense, but they're not going to take the top off of defense, as they say. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why this is notable for me is because this is an under 22 initiative, which is teams get those slots to spend a little more than they would be on younger players. This is a push by the league to bring in younger talent that teams can cultivate and train and really reap the benefits of their potential, right? So you bring them in on an under 22, and then this is a deal where you then sell that player in a few years, hopefully for a nice profit, so that the MLS pipeline keeps churning. Teams can bring in younger, exciting players. So that's the only reason why this stood out to me. I don't follow that league. I don't know anything about this guy. So I was glad that you were able to, when I sent you the news, you're able to piggyback off of that. But this dude didn't come super cheap. He wasn't expensive, but as an under 22 initiative, that serves a real purpose.
Yeah. And I'm not crowning this guy as an all-star right away. We always wonder. We talk about the physicality in Major League Soccer, and you see guys that move over in a situation similar to this, and you never really know how it's going to pan out. I'm optimistic though. So good move for Houston, in my opinion. But that pretty much does it for player news. So we will hop right into match week 10 predictions. Looking to keep the good times rolling, of course. Garrett is going to go ahead and start us off per usual with our first pick of the show.
Yeah, I like this slate a lot. It just benefited us to have to do this show a day later, as we got to see most of the cup lineups, which always makes the week a little harder when you've got some midweek play. But the first one I'm going to jump on is going to be St. Louis. I think this is the first time I've been on St. Louis all season. I just love this price versus Portland. So I'll start by saying this: big energy soccer, or big energy drink soccer, however you want to look at it. That's kind of like the nickname we've given a certain style of play that we see sometimes in MLS. All the Red Bull teams are famous for it. So New York Red Bulls obviously play it. It's a type of style Philly plays. St. Louis plays this style. It is known to break models, right? So I can say St. Louis is overperforming in everything, which they are. They got expected goals on the season of 12.7. They've scored 21. That's a wide gap already. Goodness. Their expected goals against is 14.6. They've only conceded 10 goals. But that's what this style of soccer does. Like it does. It breaks models. And so I have to kind of use my eyes here more than just relying solely on the stats because of who they're playing. St. Louis will absolutely get smacked a couple of games this season, but not against Portland. Portland has an expected goal total of 9.6 on the season, or just over 1 a game, and they're much better at home. Portland's expected goals against sits at 14.7 on the year. That's 1.63 a game. They're actually conceding 2.4 goals away. Every away match, they're conceding an average of 2.4 goals. On the road, Portland's only taking 0.2 points a game. So you can get 3 in a match, right? Portland is averaging 0.2 points a game when they're on the road. Like,
Yep.
the only teams worse than that are Montreal and Miami. That's because they haven't taken a single point on the road yet. So this is just a spot where this line shouldn't be this price. I get why the books might be giving them a lower money line value here. Portland has started to look a little better. And St. Louis, again, if you're just looking at the stats, is overperforming everything. But they are against the spread masters this season so far, covering the spread 7 out of 9 times. It's just, this is too good of a money line for this team versus one of the worst traveling teams in the league. And so I will happily fade Portland here and take St. Louis at a very playable number.
Yeah, we talked about the 4 teams last week at this point in the season anyway. Portland, Charlotte, Montreal, and I think the 4th may have been Austin, or maybe it was those 3 that are so bad defensively. It's those 3, and then there's a huge gap in between the rest of Major League Soccer. I'm down to fade those 3 anytime against almost anybody. It maybe unless they're playing, one of each other. But yeah, Portland. Look, until this team shows us like a drastic improvement, over a reasonable sample size, we've got to keep fading them. I don't know if they're equipped to handle this. St. Louis City. They've had some great results this year, but they're at home here, which we love. Major League Soccer home field advantage is a big deal. Like I said, I mean, there's not a lot for me to talk about on this one. I'm down to fade Portland. St. Louis City, like you said, we haven't been on them once this year, so I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that will be happy to see that we're finally on the St. Louis City bandwagon. But yeah, I mean, good price too. I mean, for a team, St. Louis City's still in first place in Major League Soccer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So first place team, one of the worst defensive units in Major League Soccer. I'm definitely down to ride with it. DB Gnarly, thanks for tuning in. Brian, we saw your message earlier as well, so we appreciate you participating and being a part of the show every week. Appreciate everybody who supports the show and has been cashing tickets with us. I'll go ahead and get on to my first play. This is one I think Garrett's probably going to be on board with as well. Looking at what has become one of the bigger rivalry games in Major League Soccer, Nashville and Atlanta United. And usually when we talk about a derby or a derby, as it's pronounced in some areas of the world, you think about, gritty, chippy, low-scoring matches, but this has not been that type of rivalry game. It's been the exact opposite. This has been closer to an El Tráfico type rivalry game, than a gritty rivalry game. Head-to-heads have been great. For whatever reason, the way that these two teams match up stylistically has created open play. It's created exciting games. And look, Atlanta United, very talented attack. We know that. Nashville hasn't been super prolific, but they're at home. So we feel good about it. And again, this is a matchup play for me. I love the way that these teams match up. And we touched on CJ Sapong earlier a little bit. I want to talk about one statistical category that I looked at. I went back and looked at CJ Sapong compared to Neil Bunbury. Those have been the 2 featured strikers for Nashville this year. Almost the exact same amount of minutes, and Bunbury has almost 2 times the amount of expected goals created by himself than CJ Sapong. So this was not really a negative net moving Sapong. Now that, this may even be a situation where Bunbury is, relieved. This is his job for now, and he can let it rip. So, but yeah, in regards to this game, I think, minus 140 here for both teams to score in a game that could have goals. I mean, I'm all over it.
No, I like this play a lot. It's one I've been eyeing. I just could not get the price to fall in a range I liked on any of the books I used. So go Philly. So I just
Oh wow,
I,
really?
I'm just waiting to see if this comes down anymore for me personally. If I can't get it at a price that I like to play straight, this will absolutely be in some parlay I'm working on this weekend. So I do like this play a lot. There's a different energy when these two teams meet up. It's very similar, and don't hear what I'm not saying. The energy and vibes are very similar to El Trafico with
Yep.
Galaxy and LAFC. It just these two teams don't like each other. They definitely want to beat each other, and you, you get an early goal here, and we're off to the races. So I like this play a lot. I'll be on it in some fashion. We'll just have to see how it develops over the next 48 hours.
Love it. Love to hear that. You won't be at this one, will you?
Yo, yeah, it's yeah,
All right.
it's the early game. It's 12:30 my time.
Yeah.
Kickoff, nice 67 degrees. It's gonna be a
Oh,
beautiful day
perfect.
for some footy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a picture posted from at MLS Live Podcast on Twitter if you're at the game.
Oh yeah.
All right, moving right along. Garrett, your second play.
So here's a gut call I'm doing this weekend, and it's DC United both teams to score plus over 2.5 versus Charlotte. The stats aren't really there for it, at least from an attacking sense. DC's expected goals in the season is only 0.96 a game. Charlotte's expected goals only 0.98 a game. So sub 1 goal a game for both sides. However, the defenses are a little more susceptible. DC's is an expected goals conceded of 1.27. Charlotte is 1.51. So a little better. You mentioned Charlotte's defense. There's a big gap between some of the worst teams, 3 or 4 worst teams in the league, and everyone else. I just like how these two teams are going to match up. Charlotte has been becoming more and more aggressive. Their over-unders on the road are 4-0 for the overs. DC United's over-under record is just 2-2, so just splitting them. Dahome, I don't know if he plays here. It'd be interesting to see how DC lines up. I'm assuming they'll do a 4-4-2. That's how they normally go in there at home. But Charlotte's just aggressive. So I like both teams to score here. It was juiced out for me, but I do think you could have a winner here. Charlotte road games have had goals. And Charlotte's looked better as the season has gone on. Like they're starting to get more comfortable with what all the rotations that are being asked of them. And that's leading to both better passing, better looks on goals, some more goals. And I do like DC at home to score here. Whether it's Benteke or I like how Rooney's putting this team together with Taxi Fuentes up top, O'Brien running the midfield. You can have some speedy wingers outside. So I think this is just a gut play for me. I think you get both teams to score here, and I think somebody finds a second one. I don't know if we can get some kind of ridiculous 2-2 draw or wherever we head here. This really feels more like a DC United 2-1 type deal. But DC's hasn't been great at home so far this season. So if Charlotte gets 2, they could absolutely steal it here. So I don't want to be on a side, but at plus money to get 3 goals in a game where I think both teams are going to score, I think it's a little bit of value. So I dig it.
Yeah, I like the price here a lot. Like you said, I think a big point here is that this is one of those games where a side is going to be almost impossible to predict, but that's actually a good thing in a situation like this because it means Charlotte could get 2, DC could get 2 or 3 by themselves. It really feels like one of those games that I think is going to be open from the get-go. Another thing about Charlotte that I like is the way Enzo Copetti has been playing. That guy is a bona fide, legit 9. Like he's really good. He is very good, and you want to have that when you need a road team to come in and score goals on the road. You want to have a guy like that. You don't want to have, kind of a hodgepodge of players. You want to have a stud, and I think Charlotte does. Also, love the point you made about the way that Rooney is putting this DC United team together right now. All of a sudden, they've got a really good midfield with O'Brien and Klitsch. I don't know where Dahome fits in, but they are getting progressively more attacking minded. I mean, that seems pretty obvious. So I think we get chances here, which is when we're handicapping, we want chances. Like, we are handicapping chances. If the players decide to put the ball in the back of the net and finish those chances, that's out of our hands. But we can definitely get you guys chances in this one, in my opinion. And at plus money, that's the cherry on top here. Okay, Garrett. You are going to hit us with another one here, going to the Windy City, I believe.
Yeah, I'll keep it rolling. I'm going to eat some juice on the Chicago Fire draw no bet. I just like the Fire here at home. They're a tough out. They don't have any losses in 5 matches at home. They do have 4 draws, so the draw no bet is big for me as far as some push protection there. But they've had really strong outings, in my opinion, in the last 3 games. So I think their form is really coming on. They beat Minnesota. They drew Philly. They did lose to Atlanta last game, but they had a whole other expected goal more than Atlanta. It was really unfortunate that they actually dropped all the points there. So I just like how this Fire team has looked, how they're clicking, their form right now. Their expected goals is 1.4 on the season per game. And then the defense is all right, as their expected goals against is 1.2. So not too shabby. They're playing the Red Bulls. They're hosting the Red Bulls. This Red Bulls team, we talked about it, model breakers. And you can be a model breaker both in a good sense and in a bad sense, where the New York Red Bulls expected goal total per game this season is 1.3. They've been expected to only concede 0.82 goals a game, but they are struggling when they go on the road. They don't have any wins. They've got 3 losses, a -4 goal differential, and they just lost to Montreal 2-0, who had a red card in the 65th minute. So the Red Bulls played up a man for 25 minutes and could not find the back of the net. This is a Red Bull side that I just think is going to struggle with no real attacking threat until Lewis Morgan comes back. I don't expect him this weekend. So I'm down to fade him here with Chicago at home, where could these teams draw? Absolutely. But I like Chicago's form, and I'm getting push protection.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Van Zier, the last I checked, what was it, a 6-game suspension? Is that what we're dealing with?
6-game suspension, and then you don't know if he's coming back directly, right? 6 games is just the minimum that the MLS has said you are out. I mean, he still has to work back into the team. Like, this is not an easy thing to come back from.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to try to make amends as a teammate, and I mean that's a huge part of soccer. I mean, and any team sport. So we'll see what happens there. But for now,
and Aquinas has been missing games. I don't know where his health is, because Red Bulls don't have a midweek cup game, so they didn't play. So they'll be rested. Chicago played tonight, but they rotated a decent amount. I was happy with the rotation. They're staying home. They're not traveling anywhere. So yeah, with this draw no bet, I think that's the move here as far as if you want to back Chicago.
Right on. Yeah, and we've talked about Chicago too. I think we were talking in the group chat last week maybe. Chicago has shown signs, like they've had most of their games this year a good looking build up. They've obviously had some good results. They have looked a much different and much improved team from Chicago Fire of a year ago. Seems like they're just kind of missing that striker, but really positive play. Actually pretty solid defensively as well this season. And like you said, the big deal here is, like, I think it's time we just come to grips with reality of what this New York Red Bull team really is, because this is not a small sample size anymore. This has been a full season and already 10 weeks into this season of them showing good numbers. Some of the analytics looks like they're a good team, and they just lay eggs. Like, this team just lays eggs. They don't meet or exceed expectations. So yeah, I'm all about the Chicago Fire. I think this is a team that will give us some positive results this season. All right, right on. Moving along to Garrett's final play. I just want to say this is probably my favorite play of Major League Soccer Week 10.
Yeah, this was a late addition once the Colorado Rapids lineup came out for their cup game tonight. And they just went way more attacking than I was expecting. I thought they would rotate more. And so I'm getting Vancouver money line at -124 when they're at home. Vancouver's expected goal total is among some of the best in the league at 1.76 a game. They've played one less game than the Rapids already this season, and they don't have a cup game midweek. So Vancouver's going to be fully rested. Their defense has been solid at it. Expected goals conceded is only 1.07. Rapids, I was on this game in many different ways until I saw the Rapids lineup because I like the analytics on the Rapids. Everything says they're going to start scoring goals soon, but I do not like them on short rest with key attacking players playing tonight in the cup game. And they're only having 2 days rest before they play on Saturday, having to travel to the West Coast and to Vancouver. So I nixed all of those. I just want Vancouver money line here. Both are in top 4 in big chances created. I love that stat. Rapids, when I talked about Rapids are going to start scoring goals soon. They're number 1 in big chances missed. So you're going to see some positive regression there. I'm sure they probably score in this game. I'm just not willing to lay both teams to score, which is playable, or even take a shot at Vancouver plus both teams to score, which is a nice plus 200 something, only because of how the Rapids lined up tonight. So I'm just trying to play conservative here as far as not depending on the Rapids for anything. And there is no better home field advantage in the MLS than the Western Conference teams.
Yep.
So I think at -124 for a Rapid side that is not great when they travel, I think this is a good price for Vancouver here when I'm getting all of these other advantages.
Yeah, well said. This is one that is in multi-unit potential territory for me. Probably going to be locking this in as soon as we're done with the show. I saw the note you sent about the West Coast advantage is really extreme. It's like one of the most extreme home field advantages in the entire world of soccer as far as West Coast teams in Major League Soccer. So that was really interesting. I'm a huge fan of this Vancouver team. I mentioned it last week on the show. They're only 1 game removed from a congested Champions League schedule. That's hard on anybody when you're trying to balance league play and Champions League. And even still, they've been good. And I think there's only 2 teams. I think it's Vancouver and LAFC that are top 5 in expected goals and expected goals allowed. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it's close to that. Philadelphia might be up there as well. But
you mean great offenses and great defenses?
Yeah. Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure everyone who was listening understood exactly what you were trying to say there.
Yes, very, very solid defensively this year, which is that's big because they weren't last year, and one of the best attacking teams as well. So, yeah, I'm all over Vancouver this week, man. Getting them at home. I think as the year goes on, the schedule is no longer congested because they're done with Champions League. I think that place is going to be a fortress, and I think it's going to make us a lot of money as the season goes on. So love it. Absolutely love it. Alrighty, moving on to the Super Collab. We have got to get this right. The Super Collab has let us down just a little bit this season. Obviously, it's been a great year of results. We've been kicking MLS's butt all season long for the most part. But the one, the one needle on our side has been the Super Collab. For whatever reason, last week, we had Garrett's side came through pretty easily, and I was on Columbus Crew to score a goal on the road at Charlotte. Had some good chances. I think the 88th minute, they scored a goal that VIR decided that somebody's left pinky toe was offside. You know how they do. So
yeah, that really hurt.
Yeah, it really hurt. So, we dropped the Super Collab, but this is the week we're going to get on a Super Collab heater. Really looking forward to it. And I'll get us started. I'm going to go back to my bread and butter, which is DC United first half goals. We are going to get another goal in the first half here of DC United and Charlotte. First half over a half is probably like in the -270 range. I
I think it was something like that. But yeah, I'm going back to the bread and butter. I think it comes through. I think this is an open game from the start, like we mentioned earlier on your play involving these teams. Yeah, I mean, this one's pretty simple for me.
For me, I would say it's also pretty simple. I'm on the Crew at home, hosting Inter Miami, who nearly lost to Miami FC tonight. It went to penalty kicks. I'm not sure that Phil Neville's on the bench this weekend if they lost this cup game tonight. So that's, I mean, you lost 6 games in a row. It's just not up to par there for what Miami is expecting of that side. They're traveling. Again, we've talked about it. They have no points on the road so far this season. They're traveling to Columbus Crew. And guess who made his debut this season for the Crew tonight? It was Cucho Hernandez getting some run out in the cup game. So he's back. I think that's just going to take this Crew team to a whole nother level. And I think fading Miami right now is one of the best plays you can do at the moment.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I noticed that as well. I was going to shoot you a message about Cucho. I don't know how many minutes he got, but good to see him getting back out there, because Columbus has been, scoring crazy amount of goals without him all season. So can't wait to see what it looks like when he's plugged back in. But yeah, let me run this one more time at the bottom in case anybody missed it for this week's Super Collab. We are looking at DC and Charlotte game. We just need a goal in the first half there to check off this leg of the collab. And then Garrett is on Columbus Crew draw no bet. Of course, if that pushes, you still get partially paid out, so no worries in that regard. But yeah, looking forward to another great week of Major League Soccer betting. Hopefully the thunderstorm wasn't too loud on y'all's end. Hopefully my car didn't get destroyed by hail either, but I'll have to go check it out. Garrett, any closing remarks?
No, as always, guys, thank you for tuning in. We greatly appreciate your support. We do put hours and hours into this just because we love it. And so interacting with y'all tuning in, we're just thankful for it. So best of luck to whatever you're on this weekend. And we'll try to keep the show staying hot.
Let's stay hot, guys. We'll see you next week.